20?
No, it was 18.
Problem number 18, just so I know. Yeah, problem number 18, Jacob asked, is how do you write inches cubed? There's two different ways you could do it. First of all, volume is length times width times height, which means it's 2 times 2 times 3, doesn't matter the order. So volume should have equaled 12. Then inches cubed can either be written as inches with the little 3 up there cubed, or you can write it as 12 cubic inches. Either one, it's the same thing. What's that?
That's fine.
But the 3 doesn't go next to the 12, because it's not 12 cubed, it's inches. The label is cubed. Anybody miss 0? Perfect, then there's got to be some questions out there, people. There's no way. If you get it wrong today, you get it wrong tomorrow. Every problem that you get wrong tomorrow lowers your grade by 1/2, a third of a grade, which could be an A or A minus or whatever. Alexa.
Oh, I still don't get how to do number 10.
Number which one? Let's take a look at problem number 10. Is that 2 minus 0.8? Yes? Am I on the right problem?
I didn't
What?
I didn't bother.
Right. Well, in case you're wondering how to do it, first thing is you need to put a decimal into it, goes
Yeah,
at the end.
I started with
And you line up the decimals, you're subtracting 0.8, and it's just like 20 minus 8 subtraction. The decimal's going to go here. You do need to borrow. That becomes a 10. So you end up with 1.2. You're going to get, if the problem tells you to subtract and you multiply, you're going to get it wrong every time.
Okay.
So, as a big note to myself, I'd say, hey, let's do what the problem says. Christine?
I don't get how number 19. How does a triangle have 3?
Perfect. Well, first thing you have to understand is what is an equilateral triangle? All equal sides. That means this. And the problem is you probably can't draw one good enough, but if you cut an equilateral triangle down the middle, it's one. If you cut it like this, it's also going to be able to fold it on itself. And you cut it like this, it's also. An equilateral triangle will have 2 lines of symmetry. Or 3, I'm sorry, 3 lines of symmetry. If it was an isosceles triangle, where only 2 sides were equal, then you're going to get this line of symmetry, but the rest won't be. Okay, if it was a scalene triangle, you will get no lines of symmetry. And that might be just something to make sure that you know. Most shapes that are regular or have equal sides are going to have more than 1 line of symmetry. Just like a square, got 4. Sammy.
Number 10, I divided because
You what?
I divided because of
Did it look, was it wrong on the paper? Did it look like it on the paper? It could be, because these sometimes don't copy very well. Yeah, sometimes there's little dots there. And if you would have come up to me on the test and said that, I would say, sure, I'll give that to you. Mason.
What's number 5?
The answer to number 5? That's a good question. 1.2. Grace.
I don't understand how I got number 5 wrong.
Problem number 5. Grace says, what in the world is going on here? Let's take a look at number 5. 5 is a good one. 5 you have to think a little bit about here. Okay, and again, it's about labeling your stuff here. The length of AB is 6.4, right, Grace? So we label that up so I know what it is. The length of AB from here to here is 3.9. From here to here. The length of BC from here to here is 1.4. And they want to know how far is CUD, the distance from here to here. Well, Grace, how would you go about doing that? You know the whole thing is 6.4. If you take away this big chunk from A to C, you're going to be left with that. Okay, so I would add the 3.9 plus the 1.4 to get that whole distance, which gives you a 5.3. If you take that away from 6.4, that'll leave you with that chunk there that's left over. I can figure out what I just did there, 5.3. My pen's not working well, and that's where the 1.1 goes. Because if I add 1.1 plus 1.4 plus 3.9, I get this whole thing here, and that's where 1.1 comes from. What did you do?
I added all of them.
Yeah, well, that would make sense, but. So you got like 10?
Yeah.
And again, that goes down to redrawing the line and filling in all those blanks. Not a good place. Did everybody, by the way, turn in your little poet sentences to me? There were a few of you here. Who were they all? Raise your hand if you had those yesterday. Did you turn them in?
Oh, I didn't have to turn in this. I had to turn
There's only a couple of you. You and Evan. Oh, and Evan's still off and knowing. Alright, other ones, people. Really, those are the only ones that you got wrong. The book on record is saying that. Mason.
13 and 17.
Now let's do one at a time here. What about 13? First of all, did you write it up and down?
Yes.
4 and 8 twelfths plus 3 and 6 twelfths. What did you get when you added 8 twelfths and 6 twelfths? Mason, sir. 8 twelfths plus 6 twelfths is?
7 14ths or 14.
What do you get when you add 8 plus 6?
14.
And what's the bottom number? 12. 4 plus 3 is 7. Now that right there has two problems. First of all, it's an improper fraction, and secondly, it's not reduced. So you need to fix both of those problems. You can do it any order you want. I would recommend reducing it first. What number goes into 14 and 12? 2, because they're both even. So if you divide them both by 2, you end up with 7 over 6. Now, if you have 7 and 7, 6, what does that change to? What is 7, 6 as a mixed number? 7 over 6 equals what? How many times is 6 going to 7?
1.
With what left over? And if you have to do the problem like this, go 6 into 7. It goes in once, what's left over? 1. So you get 1 and 1/6 for this. And then you have to add the 1 to the 7. Put the two whole numbers together. Your answer should be 8 and 1/6. And your other one was what, Mason?
The other one was 17. That was a confusing one.
How do you multiply fractions together? You need to make the 10 a fraction, so it's 3/5 times 10 over 1. People, you should enjoy multiplying fractions because it's by far the easiest thing that you can do. You don't have to make common denominators. You don't have to write them up and down. You simply just multiply across. 3 times 10 is 30, and 5 times 1 is 5.
On this paper, I have just weird drops, like it crosses out the 10 and the 5.
Well, I didn't talk about cross cancel there, but you don't have to do that. 5 goes into
Yeah, I
30
don't understand that.
6 times.
So I didn't know what to do at all.
Jacob.
For 16, I'm not really that for dividing fractions.
Well, dividing fractions is second only to multiplying fractions because what's the rule to divide fractions? Did you say 15 or 16?
No, 16.
Oh, I don't have a 16. Where'd my 16 go? Must be down here. Hold on a second.
It's under
Just give me number 16 here. What is it?
1/5 time
Divided by what?
1/5 divided by 1.
Ladies and gentlemen, when you divide fractions, again, you should smile because it's only one step short of multiplying. Else, all you have to do is change this to multiplication and,
Switch the 2 and 1.
yeah, it's always the second one you flip. You just flip this one over. So it's 1/5. This stays the same. First one stays the same. Second one gets flipped over and it's multiplication. 2 times 1 is 2. 5 times 1 is 5. 2/5. Okay. Division should be, division is a piece of cake.
What kind of game?
Let's get this back to where it was. So it's something like this. Must probably be missing something else there. Lutz!
I don't get how to do number 2A.
Number 2A. Well, Alexa, 9.671. And they ask you to round to the nearest whole number. Alexa, what is a whole number?
It's like
Okay, so in this problem here, what's the whole number?
9.
Okay, so right away, Alexa, your choices is either it's going to stay a 9 or go a 10. Those are your only 2 options. Now, what tells you if it stays a 9 or if it becomes a 10? No, it has nothing to do with this number. It has everything to do with this number here. These don't matter either. It's only the number after the one you're rounding that counts. This is a 6, and if it's 5 or bigger, you round this one to the next number. If it's 4 or less, this stays a 9. So this, because it's a 6, you round it up to a 10. Some flat lines, I think it's because it's so big there. Other ones. Evan.
One more time.
I can hear you.
My pretest was on the back of my foot.
I would say looking at your folder that you could use some more organizational skills there. And only you can prevent forest fires. As it goes. Any other ones before we forge ahead into new and uncharted territory?
What's an uncharted territory?
Well, it'd be like the Northwest Territories back in the day. You probably remember that.